Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Stamp Cat Stamps, where I share with you the things that I learned from my stamp collection. And if you're new here, welcome! I'm so glad that you're able to join me here today. So let me show you the stamps that will be featured in today's episode. And these are all stamps from the country of Iceland, which is now a dead country. Only philatelically speaking though. The actual country of Iceland itself is still fine. So, back in 2019, Iceland announced that they would no longer be producing new stamps as a cost-cutting measure. Their very last stamps were issued in October of 2020. Now, I did read that they still had ample supply of previously issued stamps, so I'm pretty sure that you could still go to a post office in Iceland and buy stamps for your mail, but they would just all be stamps issued before, nothing new after 2020. I also found on the Icelandic Post website something kind of cool where you can use your phone and buy stamps through text messaging. You text this number to purchase the amount that you need, and then it gives you a code that you write down on the envelope, and it's considered valid as postage for 14 days after it's issued, which I'm not gonna lie is actually kind of cool. Terrible for the world of philately and stamp collecting, but technology-wise kind of cool. Anyway, when I found out the news of Iceland no longer issuing postage stamps, I was sad. I looked through my collection and realized I didn't have any stamps from Iceland. I'm part of the problem. So I decided I'd better get some while I can, and maybe in the future these will be rare stamps from Iceland. Maybe not. So here are the stamps that I bought purely because I liked how they looked. And now we'll take a closer look at each one of them. These first two stamps were issued as a part of the United Nations Freedom from Hunger campaign. This was a global initiative to raise awareness of the problem of hunger and malnutrition and raise funds for research, education, and possible solution. And part of the fundraising campaign was an issuing of postage stamps. They approached several governments, and in the end, 153 countries issued stamps for the United Nations Freedom from Hunger campaign. Through my collection, and I actually had a handful from different countries. I'll show you here. Most of them will show a variation of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization logo, which has stems of wheat. Look, on the Japan one, the wheat is shiny. Back to the Iceland stamps. The value of the stamps is 5 and 750 Icelandic krona, and on the stamps we can see a picture of fishing trawlers and a huge catch of herring fish. The herring industry was huge in Iceland and transformative for their nation. The time period between the early 1900s and 1968 is actually called the Herring Adventure in Iceland, and it's been likened to the American Gold Rush. During these years, exports of herring accounted for 24 to 45% of Iceland's total export earnings, especially during the years of World War II when there was high demand for cheap and nutritious food. Herring can be salted for food, but also processed in factories for their oils, which can be used in manufacturing other products such as soap. Herring factories started being built, which is said to be the first large-scale industries in Iceland. Towns started growing in areas near where there were good herring catches, including, okay, here we go, the town of Siglufjörður, which to this day has an award-winning herring-era museum. This tiny village experienced a huge influx in population during the herring years, and Siglufjörður has been called the Atlantic Klondike of its day. Many workers moved to these towns to take part in the herring industry, including herring girls, who were the women who processed the herring catches, sorting, filleting, and preserving the fish on the shores. The herring girls boarded in town, and you can still see what some of their living conditions were like in the Herring Museum. Unfortunately, in 1969, the herring failed to reappear, which was devastating for Iceland's economy. The modern methods of fishing that they had been using resulted in overfishing and a huge decline in the herring population. The towns that had grown during the herring era once again shrunk in size, but the history of the herring industry is still very present, especially in Siglufjörður, where they still celebrate a herring festival every year. Here are some other stamps stamps highlighting Iceland's herring adventure, including the traditional herring salting process, herring girls, and the herring festival. The next stamps that I want to look at show a smoking volcano coming out of the water. These are part of a set of 3 stamps issued in 1965 commemorating the creation of the island of Surtsey, Iceland's Island of Fire. On November 14th in 1963, some men in a fishing boat noticed a column of smoke coming up out of the water. They sailed closer thinking another fishing boat might have caught on fire, but they quickly smelled sulfur and noticed an eruption of lava spewing out of the water. For the next few months, fire, smoke, and lava spewed out of the sea as a volcanic island was born. The ash and cinders flew up as high as 1,500 feet or 460 meters for 4 months. I was trying to think of the highest eruption that I've ever personally seen, and it's probably the Bellagio fountain in Las Vegas. By contrast, the Bellagio fountain only goes up to a height of 460 feet. So the debris from Surtsey's volcano was reaching a height 3 times higher than this. By 1964, the eruption calmed down, and over the next year, a steady flow of lava built up an island of 1 square mile or almost 3 kilometers, which is now the southernmost point of Iceland. Scientists have been able to study the formation of the island and also the gradual evolution of new land as flora and fauna appear on the island. It was designated as a nature research reserve in 1965 and is still very important for research today. In fact, you can't just go to Surtsey Island. You need a special research permit to be able to visit. And even then, researchers have to follow special protocols like making sure their shoes are clean and not throwing out their lunch with tomatoes in it to make sure that they don't introduce any new life forms on the island that wouldn't have come naturally. There is, however, a visitor center on a nearby island that anyone in the public can go and see. Surtsey was named after Surtr, a fire giant from Norse mythology. In Old Norse, Surtr means black, which is a reference to his charred or burnt appearance. Surtr, the fire giant, is said to live in Muspelheim, which is the realm of fiery inferno. Here he's forging his sword of flames, which legend says he will one day use to lead the armies against the gods in Ragnarok and engulf the entire world in flame. If you believe in Old Norse legends, it'd be pretty scary to think that Surtr was finally cutting through the earth with his sword of flame, but luckily it wasn't him this time. Finally, the last stamp that I have is a Christmas stamp, which you can see from the word Yule, which means Christmas in Icelandic, or Yule. I couldn't find too much specific information about this stamp, except that it was designed by an Icelandic artist, Thordur Hall, who has made and displayed many other artworks in Iceland and around the world. It's part of a set that features branches of fir trees and a welcoming fire. I was trying to research if this had any specific significance or meaning in Icelandic culture related to the celebration of Christmas, and although I couldn't find anything about the trees or fire, I did come across some really interesting Christmas traditions in Iceland in general. So Iceland doesn't have one Santa Claus, they have 13, and these are actually the Yule Lads, which come in the 12 days leading up to Christmas, one day at a time. The Yule Lads leave gifts for children, but they're also little pranksters. Mostly they seem like really hungry guys, and they have names that translate to spoon licker, pot scraper, sausage swiper, and these are some of the pranks they pull, mostly stealing food. And in the tradition, you're supposed to leave a snack for each one in order to get your present. Also, they live with this pretty evil cat who looks into windows and checks out all the children's presents, and if you haven't been a good kid and you're not getting any new socks, the cat will eat your dinner and then eat you. So that's why you should appreciate your yearly Christmas gift of socks. Anyway, this was all an aside. Let me know if there's something more to this Christmas stamp that I'm missing, and if not, I hope you had fun learning some new things about Iceland with me. As always, stay safe and stay curious.